Before I began volunteering this fall with the ESL In-Home program of Northern Nevada, I spent my summer on the U.S. Department of State Critical Language Scholarship Program in Xi'an, China, where for 8 weeks I was not allowed to speak English. This experience taught me how much I appreciate our language. Afterward, I wanted to help others. When I first started with ESL in September, I became paired with Freddie, a retiree from Ecuador. When we first met, I felt surprised by how advanced Freddie's English already was. I quickly realized the textbook I had would be inadequate to teach Freddie new material. Luckily, he came with questions. He showed me a list of 200 phrasal verbs he had on his phone. These are phrases like, he checked out the groceries, she got in the car, he turned down the radio. I had to think on my feet and come up with answers in real time to these unexpected questions. Freddie told me he wanted to speak and listen well in English, especially with proper grammar. I thought back to the lessons my instructors in China taught me, and I taught this way to Freddie. Working with Freddie took a great deal of patience for me. I realized I took for granted the difficult rules of English that I learned in elementary school. As a native English speaker, I have that privilege. My meetings with Freddie became two-part. First, we discussed some grammar question, and then Freddie and I discussed a cultural difference together. This practice too came from how I learned in China. Freddie and I discussed the differences between K-12 education in the US and Ecuador, for example. I felt humbled as a 21-year-old to teach a retiree about my way of life in a profound way. One day in mid-October, ESL paired me with a second student, this time Sergio, a 16-year-old whose father was from Mexico. From just meeting Sergio, I could tell his English too was pretty advanced. But Sergio's father held him to high standards and expected Sergio to speak excellent English. With Sergio, we practiced reading the student newspaper together. Working with him felt different than Freddie. With Sergio, I remembered my own struggles learning to read Chinese aloud. And I remembered my mother. My mother was an English professor before she left China to America. A year and a half ago, before my mother passed away, I would visit home and she would ask me questions about English. Even though my mother had taught English, I could still help her, and learning English for her was a lifelong journey. So I thought about this with Freddie and Sergio, and I realized that in America, people of color who do not speak flawless English are stigmatized, and that was true for my mother. By October's end, Freddie was preparing for his holiday travels, and Sergio had to get more time in for his high school classes and upcoming finals. So we set new goals together. I showed them ways that they could speak every day with people using English, and I showed them some videos like TED Talks and Crash Course where they could study subjects that are interesting to them and continue to learn English vocabulary. Finally, this service learning has shown me what an honor and a challenge it is to teach others. The way that others perceive my students depends on how I teach them. After graduation, I've accepted an invitation to serve as a Peace Corps volunteer in Mongolia, where I will continue to teach English, serving both students and their teachers.